What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Friday edition of Back Your Play with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Q. Get social with us on X and IG, Rich Q on Q. And of course, the YouTube channel at Rich Q on Q. We're brought to you by our very good friends over at Play It Again Sports. They got the wonderful deals coming up Black Friday right around the corner. They got all the specials, all the merchandise, all the athletic gear, the equipment, and more. If you tell them you heard it right here on BYP with Q, you get 10% taken off your next order, 10% added to your buy. With that being said, the college football season has just been rolling along. And our good friend Nick Costco at Nick Costco 59, who does a wonderful job college sports wise, covering the gamut for On3 Sports, and of course, voice of RU Wrestling and Cal Live Athletics. Kind enough to join us on a Friday edition of BYP. He for a moment was probably, as I was driving and texting, which you should not do, kids, last Saturday. I guess his Rutgers put a little scare into Ohio State, and I thought you were panicking. I didn't hear from you when I was making my trek down to Allentown and Easton. But in the end, 35-16, depending upon where you laid your hat, the 18 and a half. But they gave him a scare in that one.
It was a scare. And like you said, no texting and driving. I didn't want to distract you. I know you're on a bit of a road trip there, so didn't want to distract you. Ultimately, I mean, what did we say last week? I said, can you give me 35-14? You know, maybe Ohio State scores a late touchdown and says, all right, now it's a 3-score game. I was almost pretty much dead on the money, except when Rutgers leads 9-7 at the half. You're like, oh my God, maybe they could do it, because they were the defense for Rutgers, I would say, is legit. That's a legit top 20 defense in the entire country across the board. They gave Ohio State a scare. I don't care if Ohio State's offense is not as good as it has been with, guys like C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields. There's still a high-powered attack. You still have a Heisman Trophy contender and Marvin Harrison Jr., who, again, eventually burned the Scarlet Knights with those two incredible touchdown catches in the end zone. So I would say that it's a moral victory, even though if you're a guy who's a big fan of Greg Schiano, you don't want to believe in moral victories. But that was a huge step, I would say, just from a confidence standpoint, saying this team can no longer bully Rutgers. That was a game that they were firmly in. Turnovers, the pick six obviously killed them, and that was ultimately the end of the game there for the most part. They stayed in it, though, but also you're not going to beat teams like that with just field goals, although at the time you're probably like, all right, probably the right decision. Now you're up at the half, and your defense is swarming them. So overall, a good game, and I think it gives Rutgers fans, and I would hope the program, confidence in these last three against Iowa, Penn State, and Maryland. So now you look at the schedule. All right, maybe, as we said before, best case scenario, maybe you win two of these last three, maybe over Iowa and Maryland. You finish 8-4.
Yep,
that's one of the best seasons ever, I would say, in program history, considering the circumstances and considering who you played throughout the entire year. And it'll obviously give them arguably their best bowl game ever coming out of the Big Ten. But again, one game at a time. But I was encouraged for the most part.
Yeah, and you mentioned that one sandwich game, Penn State. Well, that leads us into the first game, 10th-ranked Penn State taking on third-ranked Michigan. Michigan right now 9-0, 6-0 in the Big Ten. Penn State, obviously, their only blemish was to Ohio State. They're 9-1, 5-1 in the Big Ten. They just rolled. Who was it? Purdue. Did
Michigan dominate Purdue? Penn State dominated Maryland. We're not even close those last two games.
Yeah, and listen, this is a game where I know all the distractions and everything's going on. I'm getting tired of talking about it.
We're still waiting for that shoe to drop, baby.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the other shoe. But you look at this game as far as, a betting standpoint, and I'm actually leaning a little more towards the total in this one. I think the problem here is Michigan State's laying 4.5. So we know about Penn State's defense. Penn State has an outstanding defense, but this is really the true test for Michigan right now, right? If they get by Penn State, then they're going to wax Maryland. Then it sets the stage up for the clash against Ohio State, game of the year, pencil it in. Okay, have fun with it. I think Penn State, if they can move the ball, they'll keep the game competitive, but they also have to take shots down the field, and you're not really seeing it with their quarterback. And if you want to sit there and say, all right, I mean, this kid's thrown for over 300 once, and that was the opening weekend against West Virginia. He hasn't thrown for 240 or more. I think he only did it one time this year. So guys like Smith, Johnson, Warren, they all have to get open. They have to get into the flow of the offense. If they can, and Penn State doesn't take shots, I think they lose this game by at least 10 plus. If they try to muck it up, I think they lose the game.
Yeah, I think this all signs point right now that if you just look at what's on the football field, what's on paper, Michigan should absolutely run through this team. I'm not saying they're going to beat them by 30, Rich, but I am saying on the road you're going to see a convincing Michigan win, and that is what I see ultimately on Saturday because I think Michigan is still the best team in college football. Sign stealing allegations, cheeseburger allegations aside, and all this distraction for Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. I've said since the beginning of the year that Michigan is going to be my national championship pick. They were in August. They still are. I still believe they're the most complete team and the best team in college football. Offense, defense, special teams. Heck, I'll even throw coaching in there. I think Jim Harbaugh has the weight we mentioned before, Rich, has been lifted off his shoulders because he beat Ohio State twice. He's won the Big Ten. He's gone to the playoff. He only needs a national championship to really solidify himself as one of the best coaches we've ever seen in college football, at least in my mind, based on his history of work. The distractions, I think, only fuel everybody in Ann Arbor. Penn State, to me, is a very talented football team, a legit defense. We saw it against Ohio State, but that offense, despite the talent they have on offense, Rich, it's just not good enough. It's not where you want it to be if you're the Nittany Lions. Drew Aller, I'm a big fan of him. He's a big prototypical type of quarterback who could be an NFL quarterback one day. They're not stretching him down the field, as you mentioned. Keandre Lambert-Smith is their best wide receiver. He has a little under 600 yards this year, but he's only averaging about 12.6 yards a catch. If you're a team that has the ability to stretch it down the field like he does, especially as a wide receiver, that average should be up a little bit higher, to say the least. And the fact that they have two running backs in Singleton and Katron Allen, the fact that they can't get it going consistently and you have to kind of rely on one or the other, as far as I've seen so far this year, that just spells to me disaster for Penn State against Michigan, because Michigan's going to swarm you with their defense. They have first-round picks all over the field. And with the way the offense is playing this year, Blake Corum, I know Donovan Edwards hasn't been as good this year, but Blake Corum obviously coming back healthy. He looks great. He's going to dominate. He's one of the best running backs in the country. And then you look at J.J. McCarthy, who's in the Heisman contention right now. He has only gotten better now in year 3 in this system. He's one of the best quarterbacks in college football, if you ask me. And the way he operates this offense, doesn't turn the ball over. He had the one game where he had 3 picks, does not turn the ball over. Other than that, I think Michigan, this just sets up to me, Rich, for one of those, let's just say 35-17 type of games in the end for Michigan winning at Penn State. There's too much. I think there's too much for Penn State.
Are you overlooking Penn State's defense?
I'm not overlooking Penn State's defense. I think Michigan's offense operates that efficiently. Yes, I think they're too efficient on the ground, and McCarthy is just going to kill you because he's efficient, not safe, but he's efficient with the football. They can hit it downfield. Roman Wilson, who was, I believe, the second or third option last year, he's come out of nowhere as the number 1 wide receiver for these guys, replacing Ronnie Bell. He can stretch down the field. I don't think Penn State is going to have enough answers for this Michigan offense as well. So I do see one of these 35-17 type of games where maybe, again, like I pointed out with Ohio State and Rutgers last week, one of these late touchdowns, so it's probably a little bit closer until the end, and Michigan just gets one of those ice the game type of touchdowns. In the fourth
even
quarter.
with that being said, I mean, you dip under the under, but you hammer the line and the money line. I mean, 4.5, it's an easy cover. Did you see this graphic? Michigan, after hiring Connor Stallions as off-field analyst, before they were 69-24, they were averaging 33 points a game. The opposing points per game, 17, and the differential was plus 15. After 21-1, 40 points a game, opposition points per game dropped to 12.4, and their points per game difference was at plus 28.1.
I mean, that's an interesting coincidence right there now, isn't it?
But I had this conversation the other day. Corey Parson, the fantasy exec, came on Tuesday's edition. We were talking about potential punishment, and he asked me, what do you think is going to happen? I said, nothing. I said, nothing right now during the season. What are they? They're not going to strip them of anything. They're not going to vacate Waynes. They're not going to turn around and say, you're not going to play Ohio State. They're not. There's too much money at stake. But
that's my biggest argument, like I said last week. And, I know the Big Ten's being pressured right now. Tony Petitti, in particular, the commissioner, is being pressured right now. It's more so the noise from other teams, other schools, and the media pressure saying, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this? Just over and over and over again. And then I don't know what's going to happen at this point, because what really can you do other than suspend him what, 2-3 games?
Or you
What do
give
you
up
like?
the depth.
What is the purpose of? Here's my question.
Yeah.
Say if you suspend him
Yeah.
for 2 to 3 games, okay,
Yeah.
he misses Penn State, misses Maryland, whatever, and he misses Ohio State. Yeah, is it a big deal? Can this Michigan team still beat all 3 teams? Yes. So especially if that happens, let's just say it's a 3-game suspension. They say rest of the regular season you cannot coach. You can come back for conference championship weekend if you guys make it. Fine. But what if Michigan just wins these 3 games without him? And again, they already fired Connor Stallions, the alleged mastermind of this whole operation. You win 3 games. You're 12-0 if you're Michigan. You're going to the conference title game. You're going to play Wisconsin. You're going to play. I don't know who the heck they're going to play out of the Big Ten West, by the way. Then Jim Harbaugh comes back. 12-0. You beat the 2 other big dogs in the conference anyway. What did you do other than fine him and suspend him 3 games and take off 3 wins off his record?
Yeah.
He's still going to coach and win a Big Ten title, and they're going to get to the playoffs as the 1 or 2 seed. So I don't see the purpose of doing this during the unless he's suspended the rest of the year. But I don't see that happening either.
They're not gonna, and I think it'll be post-season after the fact. Like I mentioned the death penalty, which they gave to SMU back in 1987. And that was kind of a culmination of stuff. I mean, they basically, if you think about it, that year, it was, it was leading up to that where they all of a sudden started to stand toe to toe with Texas A&M. I think Arkansas, they finished undefeated, but they levied that, that sentence, that death penalty sentence to them. And maybe it's also the other out, whether Michigan pulled a contract offer off the table to Harbaugh. I think no matter what, win, lose, or draw, after the final gun to the playoffs, the regular season, championship, whatever, that Monday, Tuesday after, Harbaugh's done. He's going to start looking at the NFL. I think that's a realistic opportunity. I think he's going to have a bunch of suitors, whether it's going to be Dallas, whether it's going to be Washington, who knows? Could be the Jets. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But after the fact, they're going to do it. And to be honest, it's almost like the nonsense with Pete Carroll and then bolting USC. At that point, when he's back in the NFL, what the hell does he care?
Yeah, and that's the point I've brought up multiple times, where this is setting up to be a Pete Carroll type of situation. Now, the sanctions are different. The allegations are different from what USC did, of course. But, I know the reports there were reports, I believe, within the last couple of weeks since this has broken about this whole sign stealing about all the whole sign stealing scandal here, that if he went to the NFL, he's not totally exonerated from penalties, but I don't know what are you gonna do? To be frank, and again, I'm no lawyer and I'm not part of any type of rules committee. Just full disclosure there for the NFL comfortable. But what can the NFL do if
nothing?
Because
it's 2 different entities. They're not going to stock him draft picks.
What is the NFL going to do?
Yeah.
What is that franchise that potentially hires him going to do if he did X, Y, and Z in college? It makes no sense. And then the only one who's going to suffer at that point, especially if he bolts, only the school's going to suffer, and the future line of players, the staff, whoever comes in and out of that program, that's who's going to suffer. And I'm not saying this exonerates Michigan at all. Now, again, if they illegally did stuff and they broke these rules, albeit a very stupid rule, yes, there should be some kind of punishment. But for Harbaugh to be punished, he has to not go anywhere. This gives him the perfect out. And I've said it before that I think he is going to stay at Michigan. This changes things only because you look at what could potentially come down. And then let's just say he does win that national title. I've made the argument that if he wins a national title, that either says he's going to sign a lifetime deal with the school, he'll stay until he retires, or it gives him the perfect out to go to the NFL, say, all right, I accomplished everything at Michigan, go to the NFL. Or I've accomplished everything at Michigan, the NCAA and the Big Ten are hanging over my head. I'm going to I'll go coach the Chicago Bears or do something in the NFL, get back there, try to win a Super Bowl, and I'm done with college. Wipe my hands clean of Michigan, and he'll look like a dingbat, essentially, like Pete Carroll did when he left USC. But he's an alum; he'll win a national title. What do they care in the end?
They don't, and they'll forget 5-10 years. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, when they wiped out SMU's entire 1987 season, they forced them to cancel their 88 season. They're not going to do that with Michigan because of the monies that they will lose. That's just the end of that story. I mean, it's like I said,
which is ultimately why I think the CFP would never do anything right now with Michigan. And also, I think the Big Ten is hesitant to do a lot of things because I know how Ohio State's the other biggest draw in the conference, arguably bigger, maybe, depending upon what you're looking at. But with all the attention this is getting on Michigan right now, you know everyone's going to tune in, and that's what it all comes down to, the almighty dollar. You know the Big Ten low-key does want Michigan. They're not going to say it out loud, but they want Michigan in that Big Ten championship game, winning another title and getting to the college football playoff and representing the conference in the means of trying to win a national championship. Say, I know they did stuff, but hey, that's a Big Ten team. They're a national champion. We want them. I think ultimately they would rather see Ohio State do it right now just so they avoid the nonsense, but you're going to get viewership and money no matter what.
Yeah. 8th ranked Bama. My goodness. Kentucky, pardon me. I drew a blank there. I was looking at my notes and some of my odds here. By the way, not bad. 4-1 last weekend with my picks for college football.
Just want to throw it out there.
Just throwing it out there, and not bad with the NFL as well. Bama 8-1, 6-0 in the SEC. That line right now has crept up to 11. The total is 47.5. Kentucky 6-5, 3-3 in the SEC. They played a lot better this year, but again, Alabama has had kind of an interesting season, right?
Right.
I mean, last week we saw the money almost divided. They want to put up 42 against LSU. They beat them. The quarterback played well. No turnovers really is the key with this kid. I don't think this is going to be a relatively close game, but I wanted to get your thoughts because imagine if Alabama was an undefeated team. Would we put Alabama on the level right now of a Michigan and Georgia?
Yes, absolutely. Because with the way they've played lately, this looks like one of the best teams in college football. They're clicking now, and I gotta say, I mean, at this point, because we're only through 9 games.
Sucks when you lose a game, though.
It does. They have no margin for error. We know there's never been a 2-loss team in the playoff until probably next year when we have the 12-team playoff. Then you'll probably see your first 2-loss teams get in there. But in the era of the 14 playoff, Rich, we have not seen a 2-loss team. Not saying it's going to happen this year. In fact, I don't think there's no chance of that happening this year because there's going to be too many undefeated and 1-loss teams. But that's beside the point. You look at that Texas loss. That's a good loss because Texas has not lost to anybody else except Oklahoma. And I know the Oklahoma loss to them looking a little bit not as good because Oklahoma has struggled as of late. But Texas, with the way they're firing, even without Quinn Ewers right now, the fact that they're still winning, that is a good loss, even though it was in Tuscaloosa. It's also a great win for Texas. So you look at Alabama, those first couple of weeks, didn't really know what they were doing in the quarterback situation. Jalen Milroe was the starter. They don't start him against USF in that hard game down in Tampa. I don't know how they came in with that win. I think just on sheer talent alone, the talent gap between them and USF was the only reason why they won that football game. But since then, it's been steady win. Milroe's getting better and better and better. Now, do they still beat LSU if Jaden Daniels finishes that game again for the Tigers? Probably, okay. But even though he was going off, but Milroe was going off. Guy was throwing it down the field. The guy's got a cannon for all. I think the only thing he struggles with are those intermediate throws sometimes, but he can gun it down the field. He can give you those short throws, and the dude can run. I mean, that guy is fast. He's really showing how fast he is. You have a dynamic quarterback like that now coming into his own, figuring it all out now as we get into the final stretch of the season. Alabama looks like an unstoppable force right now out of that SEC West. I'm fascinated to see in all likelihood, the matchup with Georgia in the SEC championship game. But again, Alabama has to win out. They have to be 12-1. They can't get in at 11-2. They have to win the SEC title. They have to win 4 in a row here. And I think they're going to keep it rolling against Kentucky. And Kentucky, I know what was it, about a month ago, we were singing their praises. 5-0 with Mark Stoops. And they're 5-3. Got off the schneid last week. But good, respectable team, good team. And it's going to be in Lexington. That's fine. But I think Alabama's just playing too of a high level right now.
Yeah, I'm going to bookend this game with another. I'm not sure. And you mentioned, by the way, Texas, they've got TCU. I don't want to really spend too much time on that game. It's just crazy how TCU was the toast of the town last season. And
hey, it's a one-off year. It's a shame.
The Colorado game, that set the tone for them going forward. I'm very fascinated with this game. Utah against Washington. Utah
ranked. Speak of the devil right there. Yeah, look at that.
What's that?
I said, speak of the devil right here. Look at that.
There you go. Washington 9-0, lane 9.5, total is 49.5. The only reason I'm excited about this game is because I'll travel tomorrow. I'll be back in the saddle Saturday, or this weekend, I should say. And Penix Jr., I get a good, nice little up close, potentially look at a maybe a potential New York Giant quarterback going forward. So.
Little Michael Penix Jr. at the number 3 overall pick there for your New York Giants. So yeah, this is a good one, Rich. You look at Utah. I know they beat USC, but it seems like everyone's beating USC right now. It's still good to win. Utah, great program. Kyle Whittingham, awesome coach. Love him. I know I'm representing the Utes right now for those who are watching on YouTube. Got the Utah football shirt on here. I've talked to Whittingham multiple times. Washington, I understand why they're nearing a 10-point favorite. They are at home. That's a high-powered offense. That defense is a little shaky. And Utah, as we know, I know they got blown out by Oregon, but I think it just caught up to them at that point because Oregon's playing so well right now. And Utah obviously is missing a lot of their key guys. And I think that was finally exposed against a team like Oregon, which has a great defense as well. So this game is interesting to me because you look at Utah's offense, which can operate at a high level despite being down to their third string quarterback, which is unbelievable. But I don't think they can win in a shootout with Washington. Not many teams can. In fact, if Washington plays at their best, I don't think anybody can beat Washington if it's a pure shootout type of game. So Utah has to make this game ugly and score and score and score. But they have to force Penix Jr. into mistakes,
Exactly,
which he rarely does. I know he's been a little shaky the past couple of weeks in terms of his turnovers, but if he's on, they're going to blow past Utah. If he's shaky, I'm telling you, Utah can make this game ugly, and the Pac-12 race, once again, gets very, very interesting. No more undefeateds in that conference. They all have one loss or more. Utah's back in the mix a little bit. And then, I don't know, Pac-12 will just get mighty, mighty interesting if Utah pulls off this upset. I'm going to lean Washington, but I would not rule out here at least a Utah cover at 9.5, if not 10, by the time we get to the kickoff.
Yeah, it might be the game that I'm going to bookend Bama with and drop it down to 3, which I'm more comfortable with than the 9.
Oh, if it's Washington at 3, I would easily hammer the Huskies there. Absolutely.
Listen, the one game that the offense was really quiet was against Arizona State. That was the 15-7 game. Other than that, 56, 43, 41, 59, 31. Arizona kept it. I mean, I do want to ask you with that. Well, you know what? I'll save it for last because I want to get into what transpired last weekend. But I know, the buzz really with Colorado now, and they've got Arizona again. I want to spend a little more time on USC in a minute, but any quick thoughts on that Zona Colorado game?
I think it just comes down to what kind of Colorado team you're going to get. Can they get up for these games now? Because they have to win 2 of 3 to make a bowl game. I know Dion has repeatedly said the bowl game is not the goal. We're just trying to win. Well, in essence, if you keep winning, you're going to get to a bowl game. So that's one of the things I'm going to nitpick Dion on this year. The last 2 games, Rich, are they epitomize the holes this team has. Okay. The USC game, you can make an argument if they make one stop or they don't make as many mistakes early on. They actually upset USC that day in that 48-41 shootout loss, which was in Boulder. Okay. Now they edge Arizona State. They blow the game against Stanford. I think that when they lost to Stanford a few weeks ago in overtime, after blowing that 26-0 lead, that was the gut punch. And there's a huge difference right now with a team like this between being 5-4 and 4-5. They're 4-5. You can make an argument they could have won one of the last 2 games over UCLA or Oregon State, only losing by 12 and 7 respectively. But it comes down to you're too one-dimensional. All right, Arizona's a tough team this year. I didn't think they were going to be this good this fast. Jed Fish, what a heck of a job he's done with the Wildcats. Now, again, Colorado hosts this game. Can they run the football? That's been the biggest question mark all year, and they can't. They've proven through 9 games they cannot run the football. Can they protect Shedeur Sanders? Well, for the most part, they cannot protect Shedeur Sanders. Can their defense make stops? Well, for the most part, their defense can't make stops. So it's amazing when you say that all out loud. How the hell does this team win for 4 games? That's talent. That's coaching to a certain extent. Now, what it comes down to, Arizona to me is probably going to win this game, but can Colorado force them into mistakes and then just win the shootout? I think that's your MO this year. That's how you have to win, unfortunately, is limit the hits on Shedeur and make sure you win in the shootout, and you might be able to squeak this one out, upset them. They're at Washington State next week, so maybe another one. Then they have to host, or they're at Utah. It's a tough end of the season. So can they win 2 games? Yes. Will they? I'm going to lean now. Maybe no. Maybe they get one more win. And they're 5-7. Great in the end, but it's one of those what might have been if you shored up a couple things before the season.
Yeah, closing out a little college football talk on this edition of BYP with Q. Rich Quinones here. Nick Costco from On3 Sports, kind enough to join us. All right, you mentioned USC again. Tough loss last week to Washington, 52-42. The talk over the last 24, 72 hours, the last couple of days, Caleb Williams and the reaction going into the stands and then crying and his mom putting the piece of paper over his head, and then the comments afterwards. Now, I've gone back and forth with a couple different guests during the week on this. And my point was that, listen, this kid, standout player, outstanding talent, high school groomed to be that guy, college, boom, here we go. The pros, we know the talent is there. I made the comment that GMs in the NFL will look at anything that they deem as a potential little check mark, or as I call them, red flag, meaning,
Yep.
oh, man, this kid's soft. Look at this. You're going to have the other end of that, the flip side, saying he probably understood it hit him the magnitude of what just transpired. No Heisman, no championship, college career coming to an end if he decides, by the way, to come out now.
Yeah.
Is it an overreaction, or is what you would expect from a player, that position, that moment, emotions get the best of them? Or is this potentially red flags now where some GMs will sit there and say, I can't draft this kid, especially in a big market, because he's soft?
It's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, I understand the emotions that he displayed right after the game. He sees his family. You're going to get emotional, especially in a game like that where you're in it, you lose. Your defense, and on one hand, Rich, I do feel bad for him because his defense stinks. USC's defense has stunk. He put up 42 points, and I know it's college football. I know it's the Pac-12. You put up 42 points. You have to win a football game. You can't put up 42 points.
Coach has not helped this kid out.
No, Lincoln Riley has done a disservice to the best quarterback he's ever coached by not caring. Again, I'm throwing out there, these are not Lincoln Riley's words. But in that sense, you don't care about your defense.
No,
and you took way too long to make a change. Alex Grinch was fired after that game. You're probably about a year and a half too late. Honestly, I can't believe he brought him over from Oklahoma, because Oklahoma had the same problems under Lincoln Riley. The times he made the playoff, guess what? They come up short. They lose in shootouts, or they just get blown out. I mean, look at the Jalen Hurts here. Make it to the playoff. Again, they weren't beating LSU, but they had no chance to beat LSU. They couldn't stop a lick in that game. You go back to the Rose Bowl semifinal against Georgia. That's a game they arguably should have won. But again, it was an overtime shootout. You have Baker Mayfield who won the Heisman that year, and you lose to, now at the time I loved him, you lose to Jake Fromm in the Georgia offense. Yeah. Come on, man. You cannot let that happen. So he's done a big disservice to Caleb Williams. Now, has Caleb Williams not been his best at some points in some big moments?
Notre Dame,
very rarely in his college career. Yes, but you look at last year, they got beat up by Utah twice. Again, and Utah scored a lot of points on them, and then the defense blew it against Tulane in that Cotton Bowl last year. And you look at they have 3 losses this year. Notre Dame beat them up. Okay, bad loss, but their other 2 Pac-12 losses to Washington and Utah, defense let them down.
Yeah,
defense let them down. So I understand the emotion from Caleb Williams. I wouldn't call that a red flag. The comments after were a little a little bizarre to me, considering I don't remember if he was sitting at the table, left and came back and said, I'm going to go cuddle with my dog. I mean, I don't care who you are. I just don't think you say that in that type of setting. So the comments were a little bizarre. I'm not going to really grill him for that, but to me, they were just a little bizarre. Didn't expect that. But the emotion to me, I think it truly shows that he cares about his craft. He's that great of a player. But he understood that this could have been it. Like now, no titles. They're not out of the Pac-12 race, believe it or not. If they beat Oregon, they're going to have the tiebreak over Oregon because they only have 2 Pac-12 losses. So the way I'm looking at the standings right now, Washington 6-0. So just by conference record, Washington 6-0, Oregon's 5-1, USC's 5-2, and then everybody else below them is 4-2, 4-2, 4-2. That's Arizona, Oregon State, and Utah. Now Utah has the tiebreaker over them, so they have to be careful. But if they beat Oregon, and the tiebreaker over Oregon, and now it gets very, very interesting because the rest of USC's schedule is rich. USC's schedule is, let's see, they have Oregon and then UCLA. So now they have to let it go into the hands of, all right, take care of business. You finish 7-2 in the conference. you're setting yourself up for being one of the top 2 teams, and you could still play for a Pac-12 title. Hypothetically, finish 10-3, get your Pac-12 title, get your New Year's Six bowl, go out with a bang, no playoff, and then I think don't rule this out. That would put Caleb Williams right back into the Heisman race. If he leads them to 2 more wins, they finish 9-3. If they get to the Pac-12 title game and they win the Pac-12 title game, I'm just saying, check those odds on Caleb Williams to the Heisman.
You could listen. You can.
Saying.
No,
Heroic comeback.
It was fluid because remember how we saw even earlier in the year, Sanders, Hunter, Penix, Nix, Williams, with the value shorter odds, it was kind of running away with it. And
by the way, it's probably down between Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, and I would say J.J. McCarthy. And I would throw Jaden Daniels in there as well, but LSU does have 3 losses, so it's going to depend upon
who's the best quarterback. All right, real quick, who's the best quarterback right now in college football?
It's Caleb Williams,
far and away.
Yeah, I think he's the best
quarterback.
Win
the Heisman?
Good question. Right now, I would not pick Caleb Williams. I would.
I feel as though we pick. Here's the problem with the Heisman.
Well, it's a quarterback award right now, which is not honestly, who should win the Heisman is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Because it's the best player in college football.
Marvin Harrison Jr. right now is the best player. He's the reason why Ohio State is undefeated now.
And you were going exactly where I wanted to go. That's the problem. And when you're a quarterback, right, it's different the MVP in the NFL because the quarterback, face of the franchise, we know,
it's
right?
We get it.
But with the Heisman, if you're going to sit there and tell me that it's the best player in college football, and then all of a sudden you got a quarterback who's lighting the world on fire, but yet his defense lets him down a couple times, and you're pegged with a couple losses, all of a sudden we get rid of you. You have to be, now the bowl championship series or playing for a national championship or having, that undefeated type of season, but you get a loss here and there, even if you played well. Notre Dame, he didn't play exceptionally well. But my point being, you just said it. If he's the best quarterback right now, then he deserves to make that trip. But the Heisman is the best college football player in the country. And pound for pound, you'd have to say it's Marvin Harrison Jr.
It absolutely is. And not to bring Rutgers back into the equation, but that offense did not do much against, my Scarlet Knights. Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, had 4 catches, 2 of them for touchdowns. And he made especially the first one, over Rutgers defensive back, Robert Longerbeam, who is going to be he's an NFL defensive back. Marvin Harrison Jr. made him look silly. That ball perfectly placed by Kyle McCord. It was slightly in a place where maybe a first-round defensive back maybe makes the play. Marvin Harrison Jr. is so good. He snatches it out of the air. If people can see me on YouTube, snatches a little basket catch, brings it up, reels it in, pulls it in with that strong bicep, comes right down with it. That is a you got mossed type of play. And it was perfect coverage, almost perfect coverage. That dude is a difference maker. He does not make those 2 touchdown catches. Rutgers might be celebrating right now as a 7-2 team, ranked in the top 20, upset Ohio State. But no, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in college football. You can't stop. You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
I'll give you 30 seconds on Rutgers. They're getting looks like 2 right now against Iowa at home.
Did you see at Kinnick Stadium? It's in Iowa. Oh boy.
Oh no, that game's I thought that's a Rutgers home game.
No. It's in Iowa.
It's in Iowa.
Oh yeah, they're going to Kinnick Stadium. Absolutely, yeah. Iowa. I believe.
Oh, that's weird. You know why? Because not to cut you off, because they really screwed up. They actually have the way it's listed. You always put the home team on the bottom. And
so
they listed Rutgers. I thought for some reason that was a home game, but no. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I believe last I looked, I think Iowa's about a 2.5 point favorite.
It's about a point and a half too.
Right. So it's basically a pick 'em. Did you see the total, by the way? It's the lowest ever, 28.5. Now, I said it before. Here's my 30 seconds.
Hammer the over.
Here's my 30 seconds. Rutgers and Iowa, both great defenses. Iowa's defense is better. Rutgers has at least a semblance of an offense. Iowa has no offense anymore the rest of the way this season. I don't know. And they could still make the Big Ten championship game, which is unbelievable. If Rutgers cannot score 14 to 17 points on this team and limit them to 7 or 10, I don't know what to say. I easily can see a 17-7, 17-10 type win for Rutgers, and I will go out on a limb. I am going to pick Rutgers outright. I think they do win this game, but Gavin Wimsatt cannot turn the ball over. Rich, we've seen it all year. If he throws a pick, it's like going back the other way for 6, and they're screwed. So if he keeps it clean, Rutgers will be 7-3. A win over a ranked Iowa team, and you might have to start saying Rutgers should be in the CFP rankings right a little 25 going into the final 2 weeks against Penn State, just for TV purposes. You know what I mean?
Cash in checks, he is. What are you? Of course, at Nick Costco.
Rutgers wrestling next week, baby. We're back.
At Nick Costco, college sports writer, content creator, insider for On3 Sports, voice of RU Wrestling, Cal Live Sports. I know it's a big weekend in high school football as well. So where will you be this weekend?
So we are going to Millville. This is not Cape Atlantic Live this week. So NJ.com and the NCAA stepped in. They have the rights for the sectional finals all the way through the state finals. So check out NJ.com, the football tab, and to watch it. 6 p.m. kickoff. It'll be mainland at Millville for the South Jersey Group 4 sectional title rematch of last year's state semifinal. So this is one of the most anticipated high school football games of the entire season. So I'll be on the call solo as always, rocking and solo. It'll be a good one. So make sure to tune in on NJ.com, 6 p.m.
There you have it. And don't forget, he joins us every week talking a little college football, a little college sports. We'll start to dive into some hoops as well next week. That, of course, Nick Costco, appreciate you jumping on this edition of BYP, pal.
Appreciate you, Q.